Hi, Claudio. It's very nice to have you here on our very first podcast for coaches, by coaches. So
Yeah,
great to meet
thanks.
you.
Thanks. Nice to meet you too. Thanks for having me.
So I would like to ask you to just introduce yourself to our audience and tell us what you do.
Yeah, my name is Claudio Scaramelli, and I'm Italian. I'm 45 years old. And yeah, what I do at the moment after a career shift is health coaching. So that's where I am after almost 20 years in the engineering domain. So yeah, in the last few years there was kind of a big switch in my professional life, and not only professional, that was more a personal transformation. And yeah, I'm happy to share my story with all of you.
I heard you say your background is in engineering.
Yes, it is. Yes, it sounds, let's say, kind of weird when you say, okay, now you are an health coach, and you are trying to support people on completely different topics. More or less, the core of my story, or at least the story of my past couple of years. I was coming from a corporate experience, so working almost 17 years with big companies, and switching, I would say, every 3-4 years from one job to the other, because I was kind of not happy with what I was doing. And yeah, and at certain point this really went into kind of a personal crisis. So I couldn't see myself anymore in what I was doing. I couldn't find any purpose, any meaning. And I had really to stop and question everything. So the entire life, every single aspect of my life was heavily questioned. And as I said, I went through a deep crisis.
Wow, that's really insightful, and thank you for your honesty and for being vulnerable and sharing this experience that you went through. It sounds like it was a difficult time for you.
Yeah, it was. The point is always that at that point you don't have perspective. So you are in the middle of the storm, and you try to make sense of many different things. The fact that you don't see yourself as you would like to be, even with your family. I was always quite nervous and overreacting to very silly situation, right? And at certain point, I had to say, okay, I have to understand why I'm in this phase. I don't like what I see in the morning in the mirror, and I had really to take a break. It's not that easy to say I take a break, because it means to stop many things that are going on for years, and all these things are mostly built on kind of external expectation, on conditioning that you receive from your people, your community, or your society rules, right? So you grew up with certain values, and at certain point, if you stop, it means that you kind of challenge those values. And it's not easy, because it's where basically everything is shaking, right? So
Mm.
I realized that I was blaming external people for something that I was doing or not doing. But the real turning point was the moment that I could really see that all what was happening was for a reason, and I had the chance and the power to change for a better my life, right? So yeah, that was, let's say, as you said, a tough moment, but somehow had to happen, because otherwise would have taken me to a place that I really didn't like. And of course, I mean, every year, I don't know for you, but I receive every year a pension report that was saying, okay, you have to still work until 2043. And I say, no, 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 this is it's not gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
That I keep dragging this kind of ballast across the road for the rest of my professional life, even because it was impacting, as I said, also my relationship. And
Yeah, exactly. And listen, by the time we would get there, they probably increased the age again. So it's like the donkey and the carrot, right?
yeah,
It was 2003, we're moving the goalpost. You can do it until you're 70, you're
no,
fine.
no,
Yeah,
no.
it's funny, like, I know that a lot of people who work in corporate jobs, and of course, we're live on LinkedIn, and it's not to discredit people who work in these jobs. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for them, and it's not easy, but it's just like that life journey when you sacrifice like so many years of your life to be free during the age of pension. It's just like, I mean, to me, it's like mind blowing that you would work 40 years of your life just to be free when you're 65, 67, whatever the retirement age might be. And what are you going to do at 65, 67? Like, those people don't seem to be having a whole lot of fun, in all fairness, at that age.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I think you really touched a good point, because even, let's say, culturally, let's say, where I live, there was always this kind of approach that you just described, right? So we do a lot of sacrifice during the working life that is taking away the best years of your life, just with kind of mirage that you will have at 65 or 70. Let's say, all your dreams, let's say, made true. But in the end, you are dragging, let's say, a life, or living a life that is full of stress. At least this was my case. And in most of cases, and believe me, I had let's say, an experience in my family where this is exactly what happened. That basically 15 days after the pension, something really bad happened. So, I mean,
Yeah, there
this
are no guarantees that
could
there are no
even be
guarantees that
enjoyed,
we're gonna
right?
live another day. That's right.
Exactly. So at certain point, even for me, this was kind of, an eye opener, because I said, no, no, wait a minute. I mean, even if I have to, for a certain time, lose my kind of financial serenity or stability or something like this, this is a risk that I have to face, because otherwise, yeah, I will have my safe job with monthly salary, but I will get there really destroyed. And so, yeah, in the end, now I'm at the beginning of this new adventure, let's say, professional adventure, and it's true that it's not that you, from a day to the other, you get clients knocking on your door, right? So that's a challenging time, even this one. And I think that, let's say, this kind of situation. But the point is that, let's say, now I wake up every morning happy because of what I'm doing, right? Because I know that I can have a meaningful life and bring something to people that need some kind of support. Before, as an engineer, I didn't get this feeling, right? Because I was doing things that, of course, I mean, you can always say, okay, an airplane is taking people from a place A to B, and they are helping somehow other people, maybe with their job, but was not directly on me, right? While here, I have this feeling, and this gives me the strength, the enthusiasm, everything what I need in the morning to wake up and face every day with positivity.
That's really beautiful. I appreciate you sharing that as well. It sounds like what you do is really meaningful, and I'm sure you can see the transformation in your client's life as well. And that gives you a lot of positive reinforcement. And maybe you might be having some difficulties yourself, like getting clients, whatever, but it keeps you motivated when you see the positive changes that come into your client's life as a result of your help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. And, the thing is that I'm not. I like this kind of job because it's not that of course, you get prepared, you get your certification on the coaching, you have your methodologies, but in the end, the thing is that you resonate, and the clients resonate with you the moment that you share this kind of experience, because it's kind of sharing your vulnerabilities. And they see that they feel that there are other people going through the same, or that went through the same before, right? So they are more keen in opening up. That is really the important part of this. To get an example in front of you, and so that you don't have to do the same as the person that you have in front of you, but just having this kind of discussion and speaking a bit more, let's say, about things that sometimes you avoid. It's giving you perspective, and this perspective is what is bringing day by day maybe a little change, and this is the improvement that you get in years, maybe, or months. It depends on the person.
So I heard you say the coaching certification. So how did you choose your coaching certification program when you decided, like, okay, I'm leaving my engineering job behind? You worked through this crisis that you were having, and you set out to help other people. How did you decide, like, which coaching certification program to choose?
The decision was made based on this topic, let's say, that is really close to my heart, and that is health. So health for me was really key because of the experience that I just mentioned before, and the thing was that I was looking for something that could make sense of health the same way I was considering health. That is the holistic approach, right? So it's not about saying, okay, I have a nice blood test, or I have this physical measurement that are okay, and then all the rest will be fine. No, that's not how it works, right? Because the stress that you live every day, because of your career, because of your relationships, because of your the kids, the family, the financials, these are all contributing to the overall health of a person.
That's right. And it's so true in business as well. Sorry to stop you there, but it's so true in business as well. Like, people come to me with business problems, and they ask about business problems, but I like to look at things more holistically, just like you described as well, because it's one thing doing something in your business, but you also need to look at how things are going to impact your personal life and your financial life, and you need to just consider the health, or holistically, that person, and see what actually fits with their current situation, and with their current needs. Just like you work with the health as well. It's one thing that recommending people a diet, or doing something with like their blood test, like you said, like improving their blood sugar maybe, or whatever. But you need to look at the bigger picture. I firmly believe in that. You're right.
Yeah. No, it's key. This thing is key, just to, let's say, acknowledge that we are just, everyone is one person, and everything is living in there. So that there's no silos, right? That you say, okay, this is the problem of that I have with my colleague, and this is not going to affect the moment that I come back home. It's really difficult that you can really split, right? So you need to kind of create some kind of awareness about also stress, and what are the triggers, and these triggers are coming from where, because there is a lot of let's say thing going on around the stress management, right? But somehow it doesn't sound really the good word, right? Because managing seems more that you are somehow coping with something. But the point is always that you should find, of course, something to do in the moment that you experience stress, and it's already a good one. But then also try to investigate which is the origin of this stress, right? Because if you don't fix this, or if you don't understand it, this will keep coming.
I mean, I fully understand that. I come from a sporting background, specifically martial arts. And in sporting, stress is actually a positive trigger to a certain extent, as long as the person can manage it. So that's actually like when you're working out or when you're developing a specific muscle group, you are applying stress to the muscle. And basically, that's how the muscle gets stronger and that's how you develop. Or in martial arts specifically, when a beginner enters the martial art club, they get easy exercises. You don't get them to spar, you don't get them to fight with each other. They have to grow into that, but that happens by gradually increasing the pressure on them, increasing the stress, allowing them to deal with it. So I see this in business as well, that people start a business and it's getting overwhelming and stressful. So it's just how much stress you take on and how much stress you apply, whether it's still manageable and whether you can grow into that new, more responsible role that makes or breaks like a business leader.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, for sure, there is the certain type of stress that is good, and it's kind of natural reaction, right? That keeps us safe, and let's say is a mechanism for our life. So that's in principle it's good. It's when it becomes chronic that it's not good anymore. That was basically the thing that steered my decision to go for health coaching, right? Because that was where I was more, let's say, resonating with the concept of coaching. So maybe, I mean, at a certain point, there's not really a big difference, or there are a lot of overlaps between health coaching, mental coaching, life coaching. That these are quite, I would say, even more popular nowadays than health coaching. But here, I mean, from the syllabus of the course, I could find exactly what I wanted to hear. Right. So even coming from the spiritual side of a person down to the physical side of the person, everything is there connected. So yeah.
Very good. So what was the greatest challenge you faced when you set up your coaching practice?
All in all, the biggest challenge was still is the limiting beliefs that you or this kind of imposter syndrome, that you say, okay, but you grew up basically knowing that one day you would have been an engineer, you have studied, you have achieved your master in science, and all this, you have had a career, almost 20 years of career, and now you are throwing everything away, and then you are building from scratch this thing at the age of 45, and then you have all these fears, all these beliefs that says, no, you cannot make it, because this is not really what you're supposed to do, and so that there is a lot of mental coaching that you have to run on yourself to come out from this situation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing that, because I feel like a lot of people go through these fears, and it takes guts to start your business and to work through the challenges of running and maintaining a business and making it sustainable financially, right? So it's not an easy process, especially if you come from a job where you receive the salary at the end of each month, right? So it comes with a certain kind of challenges. And I appreciate you sharing this. Great.
Yeah, my pleasure.
What would you recommend to anybody who's starting a coaching practice now? What would you advise them to do?
The direction means a lot, the one you have when you get to this point, because let's say coming from a completely different field like was for me, requires a lot of processing of all these kind of aspects like limiting beliefs, and you have really to question yourself. deeply, and to question also the things that you don't want to question, like, for example, your parents, your community, you know, all these things, because they have done the best for you, in at least in my case. But at certain point, you know, when you are in a young age, it's difficult to say, no, this is not my thing for the rest of my life. I would like to be an health coach. Back then, this didn't even exist, the health coach. So, I mean, it's something that you cannot say, really, I would have done something different. You have to really face what you have today, where you are today. And really, recently, I came to this, let's say, article where they were speaking about knowledge and knowingness. Knowledge, you know, it's something that is, so we are really familiar with knowledge, all what we have around us. So we give a lot of value to knowledge. But what is really important is also to nurture the knowingness, which means knowing ourselves. So having a bit more of awareness of our instinct, because in very often is saying the right thing to do, but we push it back, right? Because it's going in the direction that is not familiar to us. So to these people that would like to start something new in general, either coaching or anything else, I would say really try to, as much as possible, to tune in yourself and try to understand if you are really happy with the life that you are living.
This is great because I feel like the coaching industry or coaching as a whole kind of developed a negative reputation in a sense. There is a bit of a negative connotation to coaching these days, really, because people sort of expected coaches to have it all figured out. They think like you need to have it all figured out to be a coach. And that's not the case. Like coaches are just human beings as well, and they have their own challenges and their own struggles. And there are a lot of memes about coaches coaching coaches and whatever, like coaches coaches. And yeah, of course, like we all have our own struggles and our own limitations, and we're still a work in progress ourselves. We might just be a little bit further ahead of the journey so we can give back to the people who are just starting out, right?
Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. I mean, that's really, I think, something that we have to face. And, you know, even the culture somehow, when you see, for example, the certification that I got was delivered by a US institution. And you see that the approach is completely different, because you can see that they are more familiar with the coaching presence, right? Whatever coaching it is. I have the feeling that in Europe we have a different approach, or let's say, or maybe not even the approach, but maybe we are not so used to have somebody that is there, not just to tell us what we have to do, but more to listen and you know, hold a safe space for us to grow up in that space, right? Because sometimes the struggle is to express what we have, the problem that we have. And if you get into a room where you have a person that is just there to listen, I think it's one of the biggest assets that a coach can offer. So as you said, without offering any knowledge or any kind of solution to the problems, because would be not even realistic, right? That you can have as a coach a solution for all the different people that comes there from different backgrounds, different age, different experiences. So they have their own solution, but just they need a safe space to explore.
So see, that's why coaching is a very difficult service to sell, because it's very difficult to define the outcome. The outcome largely depends on what the client brings to the table, right? And often they come to their own conclusions, their own outcomes. So it's hard to tell, like, if you invest in coaching, this is what you will get, because it's a lot like therapy, right? You're there to process something. Whatever you bring there, you processing that thing, and how you deal with it or what the outcome of that is going to be, it's not for the coach to define sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's true. And one of the, let's say, the key concept that I got from this journey in coaching was about the uniqueness of the person that you have in front of you, right? So you cannot really say, okay, to get to be, I don't know, happy, successful, whatever is the meaning of successful, you have to do A, B, C, D, E. That's about, you know, that what I was mentioning before, knowing yourself and knowing, you know, also to balance yourself between the comfortable and uncomfortable situation. Because as you said before, I mean, stress, for example, to a certain extent is positive, but over a certain threshold, it's negative, right? So you need to know or to understand for yourself which is the right threshold to say, okay, I push myself a little further on that direction that is new to me, but I know that I can expand there and find new meaning. Or no, I don't go there because this is completely unnatural and unfamiliar to me, and I wouldn't be safe, or I wouldn't feel safe. So it's really a lot about really reading a bit the signs of yourself, either body-wise or mentally or emotionally.
Yes, absolutely. It's a lot about self-awareness and know thyself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So, what's your vision for your coaching practice?
Look, I tend to explore a lot. So, of course, I mean, you know, when I think about the core, for me, it's about having one-on-one, because one-on-one for me, it's the best way to deliver my help, my support to people, right? You are approaching in a way that is really specific or just support that person. But of course, there is also other things to consider, right? Because if you have classes, for example, this allows you maybe to be a bit less on the coaching side, but more on creating awareness on certain topics, on certain problems. So you can reach out to more people, and your time has a better, let's say, better value. But I like, for example, also to explore a lot about education. So, for example, conscious parenting, because
Mhm.
this is where, you know, I see sometimes I say, okay, but it's conscious parenting, is not coaching, but in the end, is the moment where, let's say, a person can start developing this awareness, this self-awareness, right? Because if you wait that we get to 35, 45, 55 before we realize that we are doing something that we didn't like, that's late. You have spent quite many of your best years doing something that you didn't like. Or
Yeah.
so if you have conscious parenting in place, meaning that parents are there aware how to support their kids in exploring and find, let's say, their passions, for example, this is the best starting point to avoid, let's say, a problem afterwards. And of course, I mean, this can be counteractive if you consider that coaching is just there to help people sometime in the middle age to get out of this turmoil. But I
Mhm.
think it's really important to invest on our kids, in our kids, because that's the moment that they can really have all the energies to do whatever they want. They don't need to have those limiting beliefs projected on themselves.
Very true, very true. I mean, they are the future leaders of the world. So,
Yeah.
and we play such an enormous role in shaping their lives, their perception of the world. So, yeah, you got to plant those seeds early and nurture them.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I fully appreciate how that ties in with your more holistic approach. And it's interesting to hear that you look into venture into um, that as well, and maybe training and creating awareness also. So, in achieving all of this, what is your biggest challenge in your business right now?
If I would say just bluntly, the biggest challenge is to get clients, right? It is not so difficult, for example, to get to cooperate, for example, with yoga schools or places where you can have your classes. This is, you know, you find people that it's like-minded, and you can always have this. but somehow when I have even just gatherings with other people and I describe what I'm doing, they always sound interested in, but I almost never found somebody that said, you know, this could be something that would be beneficial to me, right? We always, the moment that we talk about stress, we always think about somebody else. So that, like, you know, that stress to a certain extent is normal, it's part of the game, and that can be true. But we know also that we are in a society that is heavily affected by stress, for example, by bad lifestyles. So it's a bit tricky. I think that's also, that goes back to what I was saying before, that still I think there's not really full readiness for people to think about an health coach like maybe now you start thinking about a psychologist or a therapist, right? Because this is coming more and more.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, just to clean up the industry a little bit, because there are a lot of misconceptions about coaching. And like I said, the reputation of coaching has suffered over the last couple of years because it's an unregulated industry. Anybody can go out there and brand themselves as a coach and say, I can help you with this. And this created kind of this guru movement or this guru-esque culture. And a lot of these gurus, like obviously they are fake. They can't really help people. In fact, sometimes they make people's life worse, or they just make them a few $1,000s poorer, rather than actually helping them. So it's good to hear that from you as well, that there needs to be an awareness about what coaching is and what it isn't, and what it means to be a qualified coach, or what it takes to be qualified to be able to help somebody else, and where does these skills or capabilities come from, and how to communicate this value to people who might be interested in coaching, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and you touched it. The key point when you said that it's unregulated, right? So, you know, there is, let's say, some organization that now is trying to standardize and to define, standards for this, like ICF, for example. But in the US, for example, you are on another, let's say, field. So there you have a different, let's say, organization, and but still, let's say, at least for me, I don't see that people gets to the place where they say, no, I don't go to this guy because he doesn't hold an ICF or he doesn't hold these other certification. They don't get there because there's no point for them to explore this kind of service. So I think
it's not the certification that gets you the client. It's not the certifying body that gets you the clients. And actually, this is one of my criticism to the certification providers, that they're flooding the markets with certified coaches without considering whether there is a need for so many coaches on the market, creating extreme competition. And these people, they don't receive any business guidance, how to run and manage like your own coaching practice as a business, how to get new clients, and how to turn it into a sustainable, how to create a sustainable income from your coaching practice. And a lot of coaches end up struggling to find clients in the beginning, and they do a lot of pro bono work, like they do like free coaching in hope that those people will somehow end up paying them or convert to paying clients. And they try to negotiate affiliate partnerships with other organizations to give them clients. But in the end, they have a tough time finding clients.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And you know, that's the point where you give that kind of space, or you leave the door open to your limiting beliefs, to your fears, right? Because as a coach, the moment that you say, okay, now I'm full steam ahead, I do this, I put everything in place, my business and everything, the moment that you see that let's say, clients, as I said before, are not knocking on your door, then you start questioning yourself and all your decision and all the money that you have spent so far. So it's I think
Yeah, a lot of people never cut it. They just end up going back to a job because they couldn't make it. It happens.
yeah,
I mean, you mentioned ICF. They were recently publishing on their social media that they certified 50,000 coaches. 50,000 coaches. Like, how many of those are actually active and making a living out of this? A lot of people are doing it as a side gig beside their full-time job or beside a part-time job, and a lot of them are just like stay-at-home moms, maybe, who coach
yeah,
a few hours here and there. But it doesn't mean that they actually certified 50,000 coaches who set up a sustainable coaching practice.
absolutely. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
But they don't tell you that before you apply for your certification, right?
No.
Exactly. So yeah, that's why I do what I do. That's why I decided to help those coaches who are serious about it, and they want to create a sustainable coaching practice to turn it into an actual business. So that's my gig right now, and I have built two businesses that were acquired before. One of them was actually a gym, and before I had a tech company. Before I set up my gym, I sold the tech company. Then I used the money to start the gym because I was massively into martial arts. And then I sold that too. And I had to do some self reflection, just like you, like, what is the greatest value I can provide? And
Mm.
I come from a finance and marketing background. So I was like, well, I don't have a passion or a feeling to start another business. So I can just help others who are helping others, such as
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. I think it's a great service that you are providing because, as you said, I think in this, the moment that you get a certification as a coach, yeah, you have a title, let's say, but let's say you miss completely the hardcore part, right? So the how to run your business, and maybe it's just a matter of I call it simple rules, but you need to know them, right? See, if you don't have this kind of guidance, you I think you start a bit losing time. You losing also your resources because you start
Yeah.
spending here and there, and you don't get to any place. There's no strategy.
Mm.
So I think it's something that definitely should be either in combination or integrated in the courses that they are delivering, because that's really key point.
Yeah, like last month I was on a conference, on a coaching conference, and I actually questioned the leadership of this organization. And they told me that their purpose is to maintain the standard of the service and the ethics of their coaches, and
Mm-hmm.
not to help them succeed in business. He said
No.
that's not part of their purpose. I was like, okay, that's fair enough, right? As long as you make that clear and you set the expectations right, like, the people, just so that the people know that they will need to find help elsewhere if they want to turn this into a business, right? So
Yeah.
that's okay, but then you need to communicate that so that people don't expect that I took the certification and clients will be lining up.
Yeah, but that's clear. That's clear. Yeah, uh, I think that let's say that there are really key things like networking that you completely miss. For example, when you get certified, of course, you know some of your colleagues, uh, but you need way more networking to make all these things work. So, I mean, if you have 50,000 coaches, new coaches, this cannot really you cannot leave them on their own to manage their future.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And the other misconception is really that when people start a coaching practice, in my experience, a lot of people leave a job and they expect to be free. But still, when you start your own business, you need to work on that business. So that still involves work, and it takes discipline to manage yourself and make your business function and to be sustainable. So
Absolutely.
it's not exactly like, and I can do whatever I want and I just jump on a few calls here and there and I'll be fine. It doesn't work like that.
I mean, at least not at the beginning. Maybe
Exactly.
after.
You need to get some momentum, but yeah, you can get there. Totally,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, you do that for 1-2 years, like you put in the work 1-2 years, you get some momentum, and after that, you can, you can sit back in the driving seat and just go with the flow.
Yeah, no, that's true.
All right, Claudio, is there anything else you would like to share with the listeners?
No, I think, let's say the main thing is about really paying attention to where they are. I mean, everything is fine, right? I mean, there is people that like myself that cannot really cope with, let's say, corporate jobs or things like that. But as soon or as far as you are fine with your life, anything, it's good and it's okay. There's no rule out there. So I think it's important really to sink in what you feel, and of course what I say is that you should always seek for help the moment that you see that you struggle and you cannot come to a point on your own. So
All
yeah.
right. And if
Yeah.
people need help with any of these things, or if they need health coaching, what's the best way for them to reach you?
I mean, I have, let's say, presence on socials like LinkedIn and Instagram,
How can
and
they find you?
they can find me with the it's Coach Scaramelli. It's the same for Instagram and LinkedIn. From there, they can go to my website, and yeah, and as a normal practice for coaching, they can have this free call where they can share their concerns. They can better understand how health coaching works, which kind of service they can get, either a program that is a bit more structured or even some shorter solution that can be maybe for specific problems. And so yes, Coach Scaramelli and I can definitely help them.
All right. So if you're listening and you're dealing with a lot of stress, and you can deal with you can use some help to deal with the stress, or maybe to change your career, you want some health advice as well, please reach out to Coach Scaramelli. Thank
Thanks
you
a lot.
and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.